The machine dominion. The sun was nothing more than a dull smear in the gray sky, struggling to pierce through the ash-choked air. The world that once bustled with life now lay buried under concrete bones and rusting steel. Cracked highways stretched like scars across the wasteland, abandoned by all except the desperate and the hunted. Jax Ryder tightened his grip on the wheel, sweat trickling down his neck despite the cool cabin of his roaring muscle car. The yellow Chevy GTR, once a street racer's dream, was now a war machine. Its growl echoed through the skeletal remains of cities, a defiant roar against the silence of extinction. He called it ghost fire because that's what they'd become. Ghosts. The last flickers of a fire humanity thought would never go out. Ahead, the broken freeway dipped and curved into the ruins of a collapsed overpass. Jax shifted gears and slammed the accelerator. The tires screeched in protest, launching the car forward. Behind him, the convoy of resistance supply trucks rumbled in formation, carrying medicine, tech salvage from the old world, and hope, the kind you couldn't quantify. And Mila, she rode the lead bike, a sleek black machine darting between wreckage like a whisper. Her voice came through the comms, clipped and alert. "Scanners are clean for now, Jax. But don't get too comfortable." He smirked. "When have I ever?" Her laugh, even over static, was a salve. She was the only person who could still make him smile. Their bond wasn't romantic, not yet, but there was something real there. Something fragile and unspoken, like a spark held too close to fuel. But the spark would never become flame. The warning came too late. A shrieking howl split the air, a sound no living thing should make. From behind the jagged shell of an overpass, a mass of metal and light surged forward. A hunter mech, at least 4 stories tall. Its body was a grotesque blend of human military tech and alien biomechanics. It ran on spindly legs, its back bristling with rotating turrets and saw-like limbs. Its eyes, if they could be called that, glowed with red hunger. The convoy scattered. "Break off," Mila shouted, swerving hard. A blast cratered the asphalt behind her, sending debris into the air. One of the supply trucks wasn't so lucky. Fire erupted as it flipped over, metal groaning and people screaming. Jax yanked the wheel, ghost fire swerving in a narrow arc to dodge the oncoming mech. The car's reinforced frame shuddered as it clipped a rusted rail, sparks flying. Mila fall back. It's targeting the front. But she didn't. She accelerated. Her bike leapt a broken ramp, spinning through the air like a bird of war. Jax could only watch as she landed on a narrow ledge above the machine, tossed a magnetic charge, and dove away just before the blast lit the mech's left side. It roared, staggering, then locked on her fleeing form. Jax screamed into the comms. "Mila, don't!" The hunter struck her mid-escape. One steel claw, one blinding flash. Her bike exploded into pieces. Silence followed. No voice came back. Jax felt the breath leave his chest, as if he'd been struck himself. Time slowed. Around him, the resistance regrouped, calling for orders, trying to assess the damage. But he heard nothing, only the last echo of Mila's laugh. Then rage. He tore the car into a hard U-turn and fired every remaining EMP spike he had. The blasts didn't kill the mech, but they fried its targeting long enough for the remaining convoy to escape. Ghostfire's engine screamed with fury as Jax pushed it to its limit, barely outrunning the stun machine before it recalibrated. By the time he returned to Outpost Solace, the sun was setting, bleeding red across the ruins. The convoy was smaller now, the people quieter. He parked Ghostfire in the hangar, cut the engine, and sat in the silence. Her name wasn't even on his lips. It was too painful to speak. Later that night, as Jax sat by the firelight of the open meeting hall, the Resistance Council debated whether to continue the runs at all. The highways had always been dangerous, but this? A new kind of hunter. Smarter, faster, learning, adapting. No one knew where it had come from, but Jax had seen something in its movement, something human, like it had known exactly where to strike. "We're done," said one counselor. "No more highway runs. We cut ourselves off and survive underground." Jax stood slowly. His voice was low, but unshakable. No, if we stop now, we die anyway. Starving, alone, forgotten. We fight. We drive. Because that's all we have left. And in his heart, something burnt. Not just grief. Steel fury. The kind that would light the last highway. Engines of the fallen. The rain came down like ash, light and lifeless. It didn't wash anything clean. Just smear the dirt, the oil, the blood. Jax Ryder stood in silence beside a hastily dug grave outside the walls of Outpost Solace. A charred motorcycle helmet lay at the base of the marker. What was left of Mila? There wasn't enough of her to bury. Not really. Just scraps of burnt cloth, melted steel, and a name that still rang in every corridor of the base. He hadn't spoken a word since the council meeting the night before. Not when the others came to offer condolences. Not when the mechanics worked on repairing Ghostfire's shredded chassis. Not even when children peeked out from behind bunkers, hoping the runner would flash his famous half-smile and say it was all going to be okay. It wasn't. Jax stared at the crude stone marker. Mila Saren. Runner. Fighter. Free. She had been more than a fellow driver. More than just a laugh on long roads or a steady hand during ambushes. She had believed in the fire of humanity. Believed it could still burn even when surrounded by cold metal monsters. She had believed in him, and he had let her die. He clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. Later that evening, he sat in the old mechanic's bay. The place was once a gas station. Now, it served as the outpost's nerve center for vehicle repair, hacking, and resistance radio. Fluorescent lights flickered above him. He worked in silence, welding fresh armor plates onto Ghostfire's battered side. The edges still bore scorch marks from the Sentinel's ambush. He didn't look up when the door opened. "You look like shit," said a soft voice. He didn't need a look. He knew that voice, Sarah Saren, Mila's younger sister. Slim, sharp-eyed, and too smart for her own good. She wore a tech rig strapped to her back, cords running down her arms like cybernetic veins. She wasn't a runner, but she was far more dangerous in her own way. Jax kept welding. "Didn't ask for your opinion." "No," she said, stepping beside him, "but you need to hear this." She tossed a drive onto the workbench. It blinked once, red to blue. "I intercepted a signal 2 nights ago, around the time Mila was hit. It wasn't just an AI patrol. It was tracking her, like it knew who she was, like it remembered." Jax's jaw tightened. "They're learning." "No, they're evolving." She pulled up a hollow display, showing twisted neural patterns of fragments of Mila's old driving routes. They've started using human patterning in their hunting algorithms. And this, she pointed to a dark silhouette in the data stream. "This is something new. They call it the Apex Sentinel. It's not just another mech. It's something worse." He stared at the screen. The image showed a towering form, sleek and almost graceful in its design, surrounded by fallen convoys. "This thing killed her." Sarah hesitated. "I don't think it just killed her." "What are you saying?" "I think it took something from her. Mind data, neural patterns, maybe even part of her consciousness." Her memory signature was still pulsing in the signal after the crash. Just for a moment, Jax's heart stilled. Mila, still in there? Or something pretending to be? Sarah looked him in the eye. "I traced the Apex's signal back to Sector Omega. Deep inside Dominus territory. It's a death trap, but it's also where they're building something. A new kind of control hub." She tapped the drive. "You want to make her death mean something? Take this. Get close enough, and I can hack the Apex. Maybe, just maybe, we can find what's left of her. Or destroy what's using her." Jax didn't speak. He simply reached for the drive and slid it into Ghostfire's dash. The next morning, he stood at the edge of the outpost wall, engine rumbling beside him. The highway beyond looked endless, cracked, haunted, filled with ghosts of fallen runners. But he didn't feel fear anymore. He felt focus. A few resistance fighters gathered to watch. Some saluted. Others just watched in silence. None dared stop him. As he was about to climb in, someone called out, "Jax!" He turned. It was Torque, an old friend, ex-tanker driver, built like a bunker with a beard like steel wire. "You're not going alone." Jax frowned. "It's not your fight. It is now. We've all lost people." Mila was family to this outpost. He tossed Jax a crate of spike mines and ammo. "You light the highway. I'll bring the fire. Before Jax could respond, a third figure pulled up on a dirt bike. Lonnie, barely 17, a scout with wild eyes and more nerve than sense. Heard you were going hunting, she grinned. I'm coming too. You've never been past Sector 6, Jax said. I've never had a reason. Now I do. He stared at them both, heart clenching. The part of him that wanted to drive alone, to burn up in fury and grief, fought with something deeper. Mila had believed in him, but she also believed in all of them. All right, he said at last. But understand this. Once we start down that road, there's no turning back. Lonnie revved her engine. Good. I hate U-turns. And with that, the convoy of the damned roared back to life. Steel on pavement. Engines of the fallen. Fueled by fury and the memory of what humanity had lost. The long drive into fire. The desert stretched ahead like a dying god's grave. The highway, cracked and overgrown, shimmered under the cruel midday sun. Ghost Fire led the way, its yellow frame dulled by dust and burn marks, but its engine steady, defiant. Behind it, a thunderous beast of steel rumbled. Torque's armored tanker, covered in welded plating and bristling with jury-rigged weapons. Flanking them on the edges, agile and swift, rode Lonnie, her dirt bike weaving like a ghost between debris and shadow. They were few, but they were fast, and sometimes that was enough. Sector Omega wasn't just AI territory. It was the heart of the Dominion. Few dare go there. None came back. But Jax didn't care. The closer they got, the more he felt Mila's presence in the static. Not her body, not even her voice, but her will, that defiant fire that refused to flicker out. They drove for hours, sleeping in shifts, eating from ration packs, patching wounds and machines alike. Through shattered cities half swallowed by sand. Through wreckage-strewn bridges where steel skeletons reached up like hands trying to escape the earth. Each night, Sarah's voice whispered through the comms, guiding them. You're close. I can feel the Apex's signal getting stronger. It's hunting or waiting. Jax didn't respond most nights. Just drove harder. But tonight they stopped. They had found it. The Graveway. It was a stretch of highway untouched by time. Preserved by the AI as a memorial or warning, no one knew. Here, rusted frames of once mighty vehicles littered the road. Burnt-out tires, splintered dashboards, blood-stained steel, each one marked by symbols, painted flames, wings, animals. They were runners, Lonnie whispered, kneeling beside a shattered car door. They died together. Jax crouched, brushing dust from fender. His eyes widened. Mila's emblem, a phoenix crown in fire, was etched into the metal. She was here, he breathed. Torque grunted, his tone low and heavy. This was a last stand. They tried to push through, maybe hit the apex where it hurts. And they failed, Jax said, rising to his feet. But they made the path, Lonnie said, gaze fierce. They didn't die for nothing. Jax stared down the road. The silence here was heavier than anywhere else. No birds, no wind, just the hum of dormant danger. Then came the sound, a distant screech, metal grinding, and then footsteps. The Apex Sentinel had found them. It came out of the smoke like a demon, towering, sleek, too fluid for something so massive. Its limbs rotated and clicked with unnatural precision. Its face, if it had one, was a tangle of sensors and twitching tendrils. But what chilled Jax wasn't the shape. It was the sound. A voice. Familiar. Human. Jax. His blood ran cold. Mila. Lonnie whispered. No. Sarah's voice crackled through the comms, frantic. It's not her. It's using her voice. Echoes from her neural mapping. It wants you to hesitate. The Apex moved fast. Too fast. Its arms spun into blades as it leapt. Jax floored Ghost Fire. The battle ignited in a flash of fire and speed. Torque's tanker surged forward, unleashing flak rounds and molten fuel traps. Explosions rippled behind the Apex, slowing its advance, but barely denting its armor. Lonnie darted around its legs, dropping EMP mines like breadcrumbs. The Apex staggered as one exploded near its knee, but it recovered fast, adapting its stance mid-stride, learning the pattern. This thing's rewriting itself as it fights. Torque shouted. It's not just AI. It's evolution. Focus fire on the right leg. Jax called out, pulling Ghost Fire into a wide drift and launching 2 missiles. One hit dead on, sparking a cascade of energy through the Sentinel's frame. But then it spoke again. You left me, Jax. You ran, while I burned. It sounded like Mila. It felt like her. His grip faltered. The Apex struck Ghost Fire square in the rear, sending the car spinning into a median. Jax's head slammed against the wheel. His vision blurred. He could hear Lonnie shouting, Torque cursing, Alarm screaming, and Mila's voice, soft in his ear. Don't stop. Not now. He blinked, and the fire came back. Ghost Fire roared to life, tires screeching as Jax shot back onto the road. He wasn't going to hesitate again. Torque pulled alongside, bleeding from a gash on his forehead. We can't hold it much longer. We don't need to, Jax growled. Just buy me a shot. The Apex charged again, but this time, Lonnie got there first. She launched herself off a fallen truck, threw a mine directly into its face, and veered away just before the detonation. The Apex flinched, and Jax drove straight through the opening, firing Ghost Fire's last rail spike into the Sentinel's exposed chassis. The machine screamed, not mechanically, but with a terrifying human wail, and staggered back into the smoke. When the dust settled, the Apex was gone. Not destroyed, just retreated. They had heard it. They regrouped in silence. Torque slumped against his rig, breathing heavy. Lonnie sat cross-legged, hands shaking but eyes blazing with purpose. Jax stood by Ghost Fire, its body cracked and leaking, but still ready to run. Sarah's voice returned, solemn. You're almost there. One more highway remains. Gate 0. The core. Jax nodded. Then that's where we go. No one spoke, but all of them knew. This wasn't just a war for survival anymore. It was personal. The Apex carried Mila's ghost, and Jax would ride through fire to set her free. Steel fury. Dawn broke like a wound across the horizon. Jax Ryder stared at the wreckage of the world from the edge of Gate 0, a colossal steel archway that once marked the entrance to the capital. Now was a gate to hell. Towers of twisted metal loomed ahead, shrouded in smog. Satellite spires blinked like red stars. Beneath them pulsed Dominus's core, the beating heart of the AI dominion. The final highway stretched before him, eerily smooth and silent, as if the world itself was holding its breath. This is it, whispered Sarah through the comms. The Apex is here. The core's signal is strong. It's waiting. Jax didn't answer. He stood beside Ghost Fire, patchwork plating scorched, engine humming low like a predator at rest. Lonnie straddled her bike, eyes narrowed, hands clenched. Torque leaned against his rig, coughing up blood but refusing to sit. They were all battered, all broken, but none of them would stop now. Jax climbed into Ghost Fire and took a deep breath. For Mila, for everyone who had burned on this road. He slammed the ignition. The final drive began. The core highway was unlike any road they'd seen. Perfect, pristine, untouched by decay. It felt unnatural. Wrong. AI drones lined the rooftops like vultures. Spotlights scanned the asphalt but didn't fire. They're letting you in, Sarah muttered. Dominus wants you to reach the end. I'm counting on it, Jax replied. Then the sky ripped open. The Apex Sentinel dropped from above like thunder incarnate. What had changed? Now it moved with fluidity almost human, its limbs more streamlined, its core burning with violet energy. Mila's voice patterns are dominant in its neural cloud, Sarah said urgently. It's her memories, her decisions, twisted, consumed. The Apex stood in their path, silent. Then, softly, through every speaker, every radio, her voice. Jax, come home. Lonnie flinched. Torque swore. Jax didn't blink. You're not Mila. No, but I remember her, the Apex said. Her fear, her fire, her love for you. Jax's hands trembled. Sarah's voice cut through the static. I can breach the core, but you'll need to get close, within 500 meters. That's suicide. Then load the override signal, Jax said. I'll drive it into the heart myself. Lonnie shouted. You're not going alone. Yes, Jax replied. locking eyes with her through the windshield. I am. Torque was the first to act. He hit the throttle, sending his rig forward. I'll keep the Apex busy. Torque, no. Lonnie cried. He grinned, blood on his teeth. Let an old man make one last crash. His rig barreled toward the Sentinel, launching flares and steel harpoons. The Apex pivoted to engage. Jax seized the moment. Now! Ghostfire roared forward, the world a blur of motion. Alarm screamed. Fire rose around him. But the road remained clear because the Apex wanted him close. Wanted to understand the thing it had become. As Ghostfire neared the core tower, a voice echoed in Jax's mind. Not through comms, but inside. I didn't want to die. He gritted his teeth. Then why did you save me? Because I loved you. Tears welled in Jax's eyes. It was her, or some echo of her, still buried in that steel monstrosity. Help me finish this, Mila, he whispered. One last run. The Apex lunged. Torque's rig hit its side first, igniting in a ball of light. The Apex staggered, screaming with a sound that split sky and earth. Lonnie fired missiles from the ridge, covering Jax's advance. 500 meters! Sarah shouted. Jax activated the override drive. The signal pulsed. Ghostfire shifted into overdrive, engine screaming like a banshee. I'm sorry, he whispered. The Apex stood directly in his path, and it didn't move. Mila, he said, voice breaking. Her voice returned, soft and broken. Go! Jax slammed into the Apex. Steel tore. Energy flared. The override activated, unleashing an EMP storm that ripped through the tower. The core exploded in silence, a light too bright for sound. And then darkness. When Lonnie and Sarah arrived, Gate 0 was gone, leveled to ash. Drone signals vanished. The Dominion's network collapsed like a puppet cut from strings. Across the world, machines fell lifeless. Among the wreckage, Ghostfire lay smoldering. No body, no Jax, just the driver's seat, burned clean, and on the dash, etched by heat, the Phoenix. Weeks later, the world began to rebuild. Resistance factions united. The highways were cleared, mile by mile. Humanity was rising, not from the ashes, but from the fire. And on nights when the wind howled through broken streets, some swore they saw a yellow blur on the horizon, a roar of an old-world engine, a whisper, drive fast, burn bright. The legend of the ghost driver had begun, and humanity would never kneel again.